Thank you all for joining us today on another episode of Empowered Investing with Leading Ladies. I started this because I found in all the research that women are very underrepresented in terms of investments, any type of investment. Now, the good news behind all of this is that is changing, and it's changing quickly. There is a great transfer of wealth in our country, and women will control over $3 billion by 2030. So with this great transfer of wealth, more women have become active in investing. And in fact, the studies show that women have better returns often than our counterparts. So, one of the things that we also find is that alternative investments, which is what real estate isn't as prevalent. We all hear about stocks and bonds and mutual funds and all those wonderful things to invest in. However, we don't hear about alternative investments. And that can be not just real estate. It could be oil and gas. It could be other things like that. So today we're going to talk specifically about investing in apartments, which is also known as multifamily. And we have an exciting guest today with us, somebody I've known for a really long time. Dawn Campbell Swisher is with us today. Dawn and I met, 14 years ago, I think. I've been in San Antonio 15, so about 14 years after we had purchased a home, and she was recommended as the designer to come in and beautify our home. And so we met then, and then that evolved, and Dawn started helping us, bringing her unique talents to our multifamily business by providing us design work and her thoughts on the properties that we renovate. It was everything from picking the colors. I remember her pulling out her color wheel and looking at the sky and looking at the building and telling me exactly what colors, we should consider. And I remember her saying, you don't want to pick the trendy stuff. You want to pick the things that are longer lasting. And I remember her also talking about blues and greens being very warm and welcoming.
Yes.
So everything from selecting colors for our exterior paint. And remember, we're painting 11, 12, 13 big buildings at a time. So you don't want to get that color wrong because you can't really do it over. So it's been very important to have somebody with Dawn's eye, with Dawn's talent to help us, not just on the exteriors, but also professionally decorate our model units. The model units is the first place that a new potential resident comes at our properties. And the model unit gives them an idea of what their space could look like. And it's a great sales tool for our team to be able to make somebody welcome and see what the possibilities are living at one of our properties. So, I've shared a lot about Dawn, just how we met and what she's done for us, which has been fantastic. But I want us to get to know Dawn a little bit better. So, Dawn, welcome. Great to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome.
Exciting.
It is.
I'm always hearing about your podcast, but I haven't been on one, so this is exciting.
Oh, good. Well, we're excited to have you, and to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us about your background. I mean, where did you grow up? What was family life like as you were growing up?
Thank you for asking. So I grew up in a family of 9 children, similar to you, and great parents together for forever and ever, from Laredo. So we all grew up in Laredo. And when I was 15, I remember my mom hired somebody to come in and decorate our house. And she was from, it's still a store that exists today, but I can't think of the name right now. And I just saw her so fancy, so elegant, and she just knew everything. And my mother was so excited to have her. So I always had that impression when I was 15. I never changed. And I went ahead and decided to study that at Incarnate Word here in San Antonio. And shortly after I finished and graduated, I got married and moved to Dallas. Okay. And I was there for almost 17 years. And so I got a a huge gamut of different types of design, and mostly, of course, at the time, residential. I did do a few building floors. I was working for with a company called Fina Oil and Chemical, which I think you all know back then. They had the big gold building in Dallas,
Right.
and I did some work for them, and a couple of other the Hunt building, which is that one that's the angled green
Mm-hmm.
building. I did some work there as well, but mostly residential, and then decided to come back to San Antonio. And the minute I came back, I was like, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
This is home. So yeah. So
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And Dallas and San Antonio are very different. I know that because I
extremely.
lived in Dallas for 20 years before we moved to San Antonio. Um, both great cities. I think Dallas is very fast paced,
Yes.
very stylish, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And when we came to San Antonio, it was very much of like, it felt like you just took a deep breath, right?
Hmm.
Everything was a little slower paced, yet
Yes.
still active. I love
Yes.
the culture. I love the family feel of it.
Yes.
And so I think we both made good decisions to
Yeah.
move here or you to move back. But,
Yes.
um, you talked about the lady who came to do the design work at your home being
Yes.
your motivation. Um,
Yes.
I know your story or some of it, and I know your dad was a businessman. So
Hmm.
how did that impact your kind of
So
career trajectory?
yeah, it's that's a good question because like I said, we were 9 kids and I was seven, number seven. You get a
Wow.
number when you're
Yeah.
in the family. So
Yeah.
I was number seven. And my dad had a John Deere tractor business, and it was a family business that he had gotten from his dad. And so it'd been around a while. And my mother didn't work. So she was at home, and it was kind of one of those families that, the girls are going to get married and, be supported by their husbands.
Mhm.
And the boys, will take care of them because they got to support the women they marry.
Mhm.
And so I kind of grew up in that environment, but I had a really great conversation one time with my dad when we moved to Dallas. And I was, it was just so new for me. It was, like you said, very fast paced, very, I was like, oh my gosh, whirlwind, kind of
Right.
place. But really neat. I have beautiful and still have clients from there to this day. But he said to me, he said, Dawn, he said, you're gonna make it. You're gonna be one of those women that just makes it, and I thought
Mhm.
that's such an odd comment for my dad because, you know, we're
Mhm.
just supposed to sit at home and take
Right.
care of things. So
Yeah.
very, very interesting that he said that, but that's how I felt from a very young age. I wanted to make it in
Mhm.
whatever form that I did, whatever I did, it was gonna be
Mhm.
make it or break it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of was like the moving point to where I'm gonna do more than what how I was raised to be,
Right.
kind of
Sure.
just be at home and
Yeah.
watch my mothers, and pretty much my sisters are all they're stay-at-home people, and that's great, and I think it's wonderful. They're very talented, but I went the complete different direction.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, and you've done very well for yourself. And I
Thank you.
know that for a long time you were a single mother
Yes.
and you were kind of figuring everything out. You did a
Yes.
fantastic job with that. But for
That's what
other
I'm
single
hoping.
mothers
Thank
that are
you.
out there, yeah, what would you say to them today if maybe they're newly single or trying to
Uh,
figure out
yeah,
how.
I would say just don't be afraid. And I studied interior design, and that was, I mean, I thought about interior design since I was 15 years old, so I didn't really realize, um, all the lines that you can follow
Mhm.
with one little nucleus. We you have to realize that there's so many things. If you have any kind of talent, you go that direction,
Mhm.
whatever it takes at the moment. So, like I was saying a minute ago, I mean, if the faux painting, on the walls was the big thing, and I love art, so that was a big thing at the time. That's what I did. I don't think I've ever. You've known me for a while. I don't
Mhm.
think I ever walked into a place with high heels and, short skirts and, and jackets. And, I wasn't the typical interior designer. I put it that way. We used to go to Fino Oil and Chemical, and we would work at night. And so we would go with crews that were putting desks and cubicles together. And I'll never forget, me and another designer went that was studying in a different place, a different world, and she comes and she's wearing heels and her little suit, and I was like, what? And I was wearing jeans, and ready to work because it was, going to be all night. So it's 2 a.m, 3 a.m. We were going to be setting up these cubicles. Anyway, so it's just get in there and get dirty if you need to, it's okay. It's okay to do that stuff. And eventually people will appreciate that.
Yeah. And I will say, being a client in different ways, I can appreciate that because I know, and I've seen it, that if something you really wanted to see come to life, like faux painting or a piece of furniture that was great, but it wasn't exactly the color that you wanted, or like on my staircase where we were looking for a little more elegant look, but didn't necessarily feel the need to change out all of it. And you were able to make it look like a piece of wrought iron and with some metallic. So it's just that eye again that I speak about that you have. But I think it's more than that. I think it's the willingness, as you said, to roll up your sleeves and just get it done, whatever it is that needs to get done for that project. So I've always appreciated that about you. At one point, you decided to also become a realtor. So walk us through that thought process.
So I actually, it was right after I moved to San Antonio, and a friend of mine she has a ranch on the border, which is actually on the border, on the water. So she was having issues with people coming through her property. And so she felt unsafe with her daughter there. And she said, I'm going to move to San Antonio and take my daughter over there. And what can I do? What can I invest in? And I said, well, at the time I wasn't a realtor. So I was like, well, I don't know, let's go looking around, and started talking to friends of mine that were in realtors. And they said, Dawn, in Almost Park, there's this piece of property, blah, blah. And she's like, well, go over there and start buying all the properties there. So I was like, well, how do I do that? I have to get my license first. So I went and got my license. It took me when I say I'm going to do something, it's like determined. I'm like, these next 6 weekends, I'm going to become a realtor. That was 16 years ago. And so I became a realtor, and we started buying property, started knocking on doors. You want to sell your property? You want to sell? Because she wanted to buy the whole block, and did a project there. And it was in 2008. We had that not little, pretty big.
Right. The great financial crisis. Yeah.
Yes. And we, the design of that whole structure, thank God it finally came around now, but literally just now. And it was kind of the Dallas idea in San Antonio, like you were saying. It was like, it didn't really fit in at the time, and now it does. So now we're, the new buyer of that property is reaping the benefits of what I saw back then. But what did I know? I was a little old Laredo girl.
But I think one of the things that's unique to you as a realtor is that, again, you have that vision. So you can go in when your client has decided, well, I'm between this house or this house. It's like HGTV Live, right? You can help them say, well, if you did this or this, you could make some, differences to your home.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so that you add that extra touch to your clients that they might not get from anyone else. So that's fantastic. Now, after, you heard and saw firsthand how we approach buying and managing and renovating these apartment complexes, you were good about asking questions. You always had some really good questions to ask. And then you said, I want to be an investor. And so you jumped in, and you're a limited partner, which is just another word for an investor. And so you started with one property. Now you've invested in two. So what motivated you? What went through your mind as you were thinking, wow, how can I do that?
Well, number one really is just the trust that I have because I'm not that easy to, and I mean, it took me a while. I'm not that easy to be like, okay, here you go, here's my money, whatever. It's really
Uh-huh.
hard for me to build that trust. But with you and Jacob and your team, I felt immediately comfortable. Number one, I saw you when you started, you know what I mean, where you started. And so, and then we were doing those little complexes at the time, and I'll be like, "Ew,"
Right.
what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Right.
What are they doing? What's their vision? Like, I honestly, at the time I thought, well, that's cool or whatever. But when I saw you like building so well from that point, and you've always had kind of the same vision. Like when I go to a complex, I've told you before, um, aside from asking questions, to the people that you have working there, I'm a very visual person and I can read people really fast. So I would sit at different parts of the property when you would ask me, like, hey, what do you think about doing something at this
Mhm.
property, even
Mhm.
paint colors? Um,
Mhm.
and I know, that's kind of a weird way to, say this should be like this, but I mean, that's who you're targeting, certain people. And so I saw that you all kind of had the same thing. Like for you, it was really caring about who was going to be there.
Mm.
I saw that you all kind of were the same way. Like
Mhm.
you knew you had, you were going to do well. I don't know if you ever expected that you were going to do this well. I'm not sure where you, saw yourselves, 10 years from the place you started, but always knowing that I could trust you and then watching you grow and making other people grow. Like I kept seeing other people and how excited other people would be that had invested about, investing with you and then continuing to invest with you.
Right.
It's like buying a certain brand and saying, okay, I love this, Johnny Was blouse. Well, I'm going to keep buying it because I love it. It fits me
Right.
right. It's, it gives me what I want it to give me. And that's kind of how, I felt when I did my first investment with you guys. And I mean, I don't know how many people have sent you all because,
Yes.
and I don't ever do that. I never recommend anybody to anything. I learned that a long time ago. I get very scared about doing that. Anybody asks me, do you have a blonde guy or you have this guy? I'm like, no, but when anybody talks to me about, I have this extra money. I mean, everybody I know that has ever said anything to me about that, it's always been, you need to look at this company.
Oh, thank
And
you.
so, it's really, really boiled down to just trusting and seeing the growth that you had, and the determination, the dedication, the care that you have for the people that work for you, for the people that are surround you. It's always constant. It's always the same, even, playing field for you guys. It's not like I need to get that person for something bad. You know what I mean? It's always like, I want you to do it because it's really going to benefit you.
Yeah.
I think you think about that first before you know that it's in the end, ultimately, it benefits you as an owner.
It
So,
does. Yeah,
yeah,
it does. I think we worked hard to build that culture of respect and truly valuing the people that
yes,
work with us. Because in the end, in the beginning, it was Jacob and I, and
yes.
just the two of us doing
I
everything.
remember. Yeah, pulling
And
weeds and doing your due diligence. I totally remember.
and then taking the kids, to give out cookies and pizza to the
Yes.
residents, so
Yeah.
um so you're right, it is, it started from the bottom and we've been so blessed and fortunate to be able to grow it, but it's only grown because of people, because of
You're
the
right.
people that have come alongside of us, whether it's our direct team or extended teams like you
Right.
and your folks at your company that have done a lot of good work for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
um, and I think, beyond just a financial gain, how do you see multifamily investments fitting into your long-term plan? Is it retirement? Is it family security? What are you wanting to accomplish through that?
What I want to see in my case is kind of, my dad was very strong about this, is leaving something for the kids. And, because of his hard headedness, there was a lot of things that I'm sure if he knew now what he, didn't know back then, he'd
Right.
be, different, totally. I mean, God, he's in heaven now, but, um, I think just leaving something to the kids, leaving something like more like a legacy, like this is something that I did for you. It's not
Right.
for me. It's for you, because I'm going to maybe see some of the benefits, but anything that, if we ever sell, we ever do, we're just going to go right back into it,
Yeah.
so that we can, have the kids have something that we did for them.
Right.
I know a lot of people think, no, just, let your kids, handle it on their own. And I agree with that. It's just to some extent. Um, but I do that. I don't know why. That's just something, I guess, when you're raised in a large
Mhm.
family or not. I don't really know if it's just in large families, but it's something you just don't want to see. You want to see like your kids have something, my parents did this for me,
Right.
I guess it's just a more of a feeling than anything else. And I wouldn't do it anyplace else but with you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. And we appreciate that you have referred people to us, and we take it very seriously. Anybody's money that's invested is it's come from hard work. At some point or another, somebody worked very hard to make that money. So
Yes.
we take it very, very seriously, and we appreciate you referring people to us.
Thank
I want to talk a little bit about, you know, you picked us to partner with, and
you.
I'm sure you've partnered with other people on projects and different things. So,
Yes.
what are the qualities you look for in an investment partner or a partner in general?
Um, Number one, well, of course, the first one for me is trust.
Right,
The second one is seeing growth. Like, what do you see? Where do you see that this company started and where are they now?
right,
Like you said, I do get approached quite a bit, from other companies and people that I've done business with. Either even in other things. Actually, I got an email recently for somebody that is just starting. I'm like, what? They're doing this now,
right,
um, and they're nice people and everything. But first of all, it takes a lot more than just sending out, hey, we've got this, really cool place to do. No, you really have to study the people that are running the show.
mhm,
Um, and it should be pretty obvious with, like I said, with just the growth. Where did
right,
they start? Where are they now? Um, then you look at, I think, like people that work for you. And I've had a lot of time to talk to a lot of people that have worked for you, lots and lots of time. And everyone is so positive, so they speak so highly of you that it's almost like a no brainer. If I'm going to take that money and put it somewhere and it's going to be in multifamily investing, this is the company that I would do it with. And honestly, I mean, I know we're on a podcast and you're the one that, invited me, but I'm I'd say this to everyone that I ever have tried to get to be involved with you.
right,
I don't benefit from it in any way. So, I have nothing to gain except for knowing that they're going to be comfortable and happy with the fact that they put their money into something that is worthy, that something's going to come out of it.
right.
The biggest thing is to have patience. A lot of people, I think, that it's not a get rich quick scheme thing. You know what I mean? So whenever anybody says, oh, they know this and that about, oh, that this just, they just want to get more wealthy or whatever. It's not about that. It's not going to be something that you're just going to be, rolling in the dough, because we haven't put the effort that you do in, you know what I mean? So, you want to be there, you just got to keep investing with them,
Yeah,
otherwise, and definitely don't. I would never try it on my own. So,
yeah.
but I mean, there, just because of what I've seen you all have been
Right,
through, it hasn't been a piece of cake, and I
yeah.
think people just don't imagine talking about working and like not being afraid
Hmm.
to work. You know what I mean? To physically work.
Right.
That's excuse me. That's the hardest thing. I think that people just don't realize it's not something that you just falls on your lap and you're ready to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, you and I have been there, right? What was that till 1 in the morning, getting a
Yes,
model unit ready,
yes,
because we knew somebody was coming the next day.
And
So
you're right there with us. So
yeah,
it's not that type of thing. It does not happen like that.
right,
Even now I know that you heavily get involved still,
yeah,
with all the complexes you own, and I know you have some in the future that you're going to own with your partners. But it's I know that if you need to be there, you're going to be there. And if
yeah,
Jacob needs to be there, putting rock in a corner of a building or something, I mean, I know that you all are going to do it.
right.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's kind of uncanny to see.
Yeah, it's a commitment, just like the commitment you make to your work and to your projects.
Hmm.
It is a commitment knowing that we are responsible, right,
Yes,
for the 170 people that work for us and the 15,000 people that live at our properties.
right.
It's a
Exactly.
big responsibility. And I know you've watched our approach. As you say, you've had a lot of time while you're doing projects. So you've watched our approach to making the properties better and taking care of the residents. What
Yes.
are some of the things you've seen that you think are the most important when it comes to the residents?
Um, I think you really care about, um, I guess more than anything, a lot of complaints I think about apartments and people that live at apartments is that they don't get taken care of in a very quick manner.
Right.
And I think that just being on location many times, that's one of the things that it's from where you started to where you have come to, you have it down like to a science. It's just everything seems very seamless when it comes to taking care of people in actual that are actually living there. And I think that's something that you all have. What brings you to here now is that I've seen you work really hard at that. It's like you beautify everything and you make everything look good, but at the same time you're really concerned about that person that lives there
Yeah.
and making sure. I feel like you've gotten your people that work in that area and that department to really step up notches so that you can accomplish that. And you've taken things like you bought a complex and there's maybe a little bit of fire damage or a little bit of mold or whatever it is that you find. It's like it's remedied and I've seen other places where it's just that's not reap but that
Yeah.
where it's just like let's put the band-aid, let's stick it on, you
Right.
know what I mean, and
Right.
you all don't do that. So I think that's really important too. It's like you can't put your money somewhere unless you're okay with that, but uh for me it just it wouldn't have worked,
Right.
because at the end of the day you have to be able to sleep and know that you did the right thing for, like you said, the 15,000 people you have living
Right.
in your buildings. It's their
Yeah,
home.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it's I mean, they're critical to what we do, and we spend a lot of time sharing that mission with our team that
Yes,
the resident has to be number one. They're not always going to be right. I mean, because they may have an issue that has nothing to do with us, but our
exactly.
our mission is to make those communities, those apartment communities, better than when we found them. And I think
Right.
so in my mind, we also get to do good with the money that we invest because we
Yes.
can impact all those families,
Yes.
to have a place that's well lit up, that has
Yes.
nice amenities and things where the kids or the grandparents or whoever's part of their family can
Right.
enjoy. Yeah.
And I've seen managers, like I said, in design, like with different groups of people that manage properties. I've seen managers with REAP, and then I've seen managers with other companies. And there's a distinct difference in that, the manager is gosh, I don't know how they do it because some people come in there, I mean, we get all walks of life, right?
Right.
In an apartment, right? So,
Right.
um, and the ability that a lot of your managers that I've seen to handle those situations is wow, what impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I would have already been like, I don't know, I give up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really amazing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I know that a lot of people know something about apartments. They know what they are, right? But they don't
Right.
always know what goes into running them. And
Exactly.
it is a lot of work, but for us, it's a labor of love to be able to take care of people. Even the
Right.
ones that might get angry periodically over different things. It's about, let's listen to people,
Right.
listening. You'll learn a lot. Just be
Yes.
quiet and listen, and you'll understand what it is they need. So
Right.
it's an essential skill, I think, in our
It
business, and
really
you've
is.
seen it. Yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So when you talk to people when you first introduce the idea of, well, why don't you invest in apartments? What is their biggest fear or their biggest misconception, would you say?
I would say that they don't want to be swindled.
Mm.
And, like you said, it's everybody's money is their hard-earned money. And it's usually, you know, a lot of the people that I'm talking to, they have money, but it's not like they're, because if they are superfluous in money, they pretty much oh, I'm going to go do this on my own. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, bye.
Right. Yeah.
um, but I think it's the worry of, gosh, but can I really trust these people?
Hmm.
And they even ask me that whenever I tell them about you all.
Right.
And they, of course they know that over the years, you and I become friends and,
Right.
you know, but I don't ever, I definitely don't want to go there. I'm not going to ever push them on anybody, and that I have,
Right.
other people that I could do that with, and I wouldn't do it.
Right.
But I feel like I'm able to get them to the point where, um, I guess I just believe it so much,
Hmm.
and it's because I always tell them, I'm telling you, these people, you've had money always, I
Hmm.
mean, since I've known you, right? And you didn't
I
have to.
didn't always. Growing
Yeah,
up,
I
it was
didn't
very
always.
humble.
Yeah, you were in a family of 10 with me, and like same thing,
Right.
like come
Yeah.
from nothing, and you've had to grow to be here. So
Right.
that. And that's kind of like where I tell them, like, even though they started with a great investment, um, at the beginning, which was those, like, what was it? Two little apartment complexes
Yes.
on Sahara, like
Right.
horrible places in San Antonio. I'm
Right.
sorry for whoever lives there, but I don't mean to be critical, but it's just, that's a tough place to start.
Right.
But yet you were still so concerned about everybody. I remember Jacob being really worried about the pool at one of them, just really, really concerned. And I just never, I've never seen that before. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, you can go to other places and there are other people that are like, they don't have to swim. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a big deal. I'm like, we're in Texas, the middle of the summer. And he wasn't like that. And you weren't like that. And I always tell everybody, they started out here and they're here now.
Hmm.
And they're here because people that have trusted them with their money have continued to invest.
Hmm.
If I saw that you all had constantly needing new people, I mean, how hard is it to get it to invest with you? It's hard because you have so many people that want to reinvest.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that should tell you everything. It's a no brainer. If you go to somebody else, ask those questions. How many people do you get to repeat investments with you?
Right.
What's the percentage?
Yes.
And I think that's important. I'm sure yours is high. I've never asked you that question, but I always see the same people at all your events. So I'm
Right.
imagining, at
Yeah.
all.
Well, yeah, we typically have anywhere from 65 to 70% repeat investors.
That's
And it would be more, except we're constantly getting new people that are interested. And so
right.
we
You're trying to
always
give
like
other
to,
people
yeah,
opportunities.
yeah,
Sure. I
that's right.
appreciate that because I probably couldn't have gotten in.
Yeah.
And that to me speaks volumes. I think that would be probably a number one question I would ask. And I would want to see that on
Right.
paper.
Yeah.
With you, I know it just because I go to so many events or see
Right.
so many events and I see the
Mhm.
same faces. You know what I mean?
Right.
So uh, that's what I tell other people when I'm talking
Right.
to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, more women, as I mentioned in the beginning, are becoming investors,
Hmm.
um, and trying to grow their wealth for retirement or just to have extra cash flow. So, what advice would you offer to other women who are considering investing in apartments?
I would say that if you're putting money together at this moment, and you don't have exactly what it takes, and you want to jump the gun and invest in something because you want to hurry up and get involved in something, I would say what you have to invest in, I would call REAP
Hmm.
and see, what it's going to take for you to get there to that point of being able to invest with them, with you. I think the way that I see right now in real estate, especially, um, we're having trouble selling homes and, listing homes. And, you see more and more people. I've had tons of people ask me lately about apartments, hey, what about, I'm looking for an apartment, or should I buy a house now or wait? And, even me as a, realtor, I hate to say it, but I'm like, you know what, right now, I think this is an election year. Let's wait. Don't buy a house at this moment. Unless you're just, you can and it's easy for you.
Right.
Um, Take that money, whatever you have saved up at this moment, and maybe invest it in this group. And especially if someone tells me, what do I do? I really want to invest in something, and they think it's always real estate, like a house, and I'm going to
Right.
redo it, or a little piece of land, or this and that. And honestly, I mean, I know that I can make money there,
Yeah.
myself. I can,
Right.
the percentages that we make. But I'm like, if I'm being honest, take that money,
Hmm.
put it into a company like REAP or REAP, because I really don't know any other company like yours.
Right.
There's several, but I mean,
Hmm.
the way that I feel about you guys,
Right.
and ask them, what can I do with this?
Yeah.
And go from there, because right now apartments, well, I mean, when are apartments ever going to go out? Never,
They
never.
won't. No, in fact, we're
Me?
yeah, we're undersupplied by 4 million units.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, look at all the ones here, and the minute they open, they're filled up within, a very short period of time.
Yeah. That's it.
And you think, oh, they're not going to be able to get, this amount of money for. I'm like, are you kidding me? You go the next week and it's already doubled. I'm like, you need, if you're going to do it, you got to go in and do it now.
Right.
We actually had an instance not that long ago where a relative moved into an apartment. It was like, I think it was going to be like $12.50 a month.
Hmm.
And by the time the other relative went, which was maybe 4 or 5 days later,
Hmm.
it was $2,500 a month
Wow.
for the same unit.
Right. Wow.
So I was like, what? And they had just bought. It was kind of like they just bought. And so they're like,
Right.
do you think they're going to be able to get that? I said, yeah, that's still
Yeah.
cheaper than owning a
It
$350,000
is.
home,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you got to look at it that way.
Yeah. There is
So,
there is a gap, and as you know, as a realtor, home prices haven't come down. They just
no,
keep
and they're
going
not going
up.
to. They're
Yeah.
not going to. I mean, I don't
Because
know
there's
why
not enough
people keep
supply
thinking,
either. Yeah,
no,
there's not enough supply. So
no,
so that they're expected to continue to go up, and then interest rates have been high. So that
yes,
prevents a lot of people from buying a home. And so what we see are more and more renters because
right,
there's a delay. In fact, I read a statistic that it said that young people used to save up for 9 years to buy their first home. Now it's 13 years. And
yeah,
so if they
yeah,
don't have their own home, they're going to rent. So
yeah,
this industry will just continue to grow, and we serve a need, right? For
yes.
somebody who needs a place to live. So,
It'll be
um,
forever. I mean, we were all looking for apartments when we were in college in the
right. Yeah.
1970s, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
80s. So it's not like that's a new thing, it's
Yeah.
the good thing is that they're just willing to build more and more now, and that the people that build all these new apartment complexes, they've done studies for
Mhm.
years before they finally build something.
I
And
agree.
if they're building them, I mean, there's something about that. You know what I mean? And you have
I
to pay
agree.
attention to those kind of trends.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
the population growth in Texas has continued to be high.
Right.
I think San Antonio was projected a few years back to add 1 million people by 2030
Oh, wow.
to the city. And, Houston is the number one in population growth in the country.
Wow.
And of course, Austin, everybody wants to move to Austin. So the markets we're in is because we've done that homework and we know that the growth is going to continue. And as more people come in, there's not enough units, then there's more demand for the units. So that's a lot of the reason why we continue to be optimistic about the
You
multifamily.
definitely should be, because even like I said, me as a realtor, I mean, actually, just today I had a friend call me and say, "You think I should buy one of these condos that she'd been looking at?"
Right.
And I was like, I just wouldn't do it this year, not this year, And she's like, "Oh, but I just don't want to waste my money." And I was like, I don't look at it like that.
Right.
You're not wasting your money.
Mhm.
Number one, you don't have to worry about anything. AC, electrical, sheetrock. I mean, anything that happens, you have a little mishap with water, this is always taken care of by somebody at an apartment complex. Just move into apartment. Let's wait till the new year and let's see what happens then. So, I'm not sure that all realtors would do that, but you know,
You're honest.
I feel, that's the way I feel about it,
Yeah, you're honest and you care about people, and that's always been
Yes,
you.
that's
And
important.
and I think, it's really important for people to consider everything right now.
Yes,
Eventually interest rates will come down and then it makes it a little more, it makes it easier to
yes,
qualify and to pay that mortgage. I
yes,
read something that, there's the gap between renting and buying. And then there's the people, if you bought a house even 4 years ago when rates were low, um, and you decide to upgrade your home, your mortgage is going to double or triple just because of interest rates. So
I
I
know.
think people are really considering that. And again, it makes our industry better.
Yes,
You always want people to succeed in life, and I encourage people to do that. We have
yes,
residents who move out because they're buying a home, and we celebrate with them.
right,
Um,
right,
but I think this industry will continue to thrive because people do need, a
right,
place to live. So
right. And providing that, providing something for that need for people, I think is one of the things that you all look at first and foremost, and that's what makes you successful,
thank
because and I think along with that, then that in turn, everyone that's investing with you will have success, because the base is that honesty, integrity, all those things that go along with starting a good foundation for any company.
thank you so much, Don. Well, where can people get a hold of you if they have a need to buy a home or buy a property?
Well, you
What's
can
a good
either
place?
Yeah, you can either email me at Dawn, my name, Dawn, Dawn, at Swidel Group, and that's spelled SWIDEL group.com, or you can call me at 210-279-2654.
Well, thank you so much, Don,
Thank
for
you, Arlene.
sharing this episode with me and inspiring other women to get out there and take action and
Yes, don't be
build.
afraid. Get out there.
Yep, and build a better life through investing and
Yes,
building that income and that wealth into the future. So, thank
that's
you again, and
you. Have a
um,
good
well,
afternoon.
thank you. Same to
Talk
you.
to y'all soon.
Okay,
All
bye bye.
right. Take care.